Welcome to Next Gen Investors. Today, we bring you a detailed analysis of one of the most shocking and important developments in the Middle East, Israel's airstrike in Doha, Qatar. This attack not only killed Hamas operatives, but also shook the foundations of U.S. to Gulf relations. And just hours later, Qatar's Amir and Prime Minister met U.S. President Donald Trump. What really happened? Why is the Gulf angry? And what does this mean for the future of U.S. power in the region? Let's understand everything in detail. What happened in Doha? On 9 September 2025, Israeli fighter jets targeted a residential compound in Doha's diplomatic district. The strike aimed at Hamas leaders, who were holding a secret meeting to discuss a U.S.-backed ceasefire plan. Several Hamas members were killed, but senior leader Khalil al-Hayya reportedly survived. A Qatari security officer also lost his life, making this not just an attack on Hamas, but an attack on Qatari sovereignty itself. Doha, considered one of the safest capitals in the Gulf, suddenly became the center of a global crisis. Qatar's reaction and Gulf response. Qatar reacted with anger. Officials called it cowardly and state terrorism. They argued that Israel deliberately targeted a meeting that was part of peace negotiations, undermining Qatar's role as a mediator. An emergency Arab-Islamic summit was called in Doha, with strong condemnation from Gulf Cooperation Council members like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Kuwait. Across the Gulf, leaders are now questioning: if Israel can strike Doha without U.S. restraint, can Washington still be trusted as a security guarantor? Israel's position. From Israel's perspective, the justification was clear. Hamas leaders in Doha were directing attacks against Israel, including recent shootings near Jerusalem. Prime Minister Netanyahu declared, "If Qatar continues to host Hamas operatives, Israel will act again." Israel says it will not allow safe havens anywhere, even inside U.S. allies. But this approach risks isolating Israel diplomatically, as many countries see the Doha strike as a dangerous precedent. U.S. dilemma under Trump. For the U.S., this is a balancing act. President Donald Trump admitted he was very unhappy that Israel bombed inside Qatar, an American partner hosting major U.S. military bases. Yet Trump stopped short of directly condemning Israel. Instead, the White House said it was notified before the strike, but did not approve it. This has raised serious doubts among Gulf leaders. If the U.S. knew, why didn't it stop the attack? Then, critics say U.S. credibility in the Gulf is now at its weakest point in decades. Trump-Qatar Amir meeting. In this heated atmosphere, Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, flew to New York to meet Donald Trump. The meeting aimed to demand clear guarantees that U.S. will protect Qatari sovereignty, prevent further Israeli strikes, and restore trust. The talks also included discussions on reviving the ceasefire plan. But with trust broken, negotiations are much harder. Wider impact on U.S. Gulf relations. The Doha strike has triggered big questions. 1. Can Gulf states rely only on U.S. security, or should they look to Russia, China, or even regional self-defense? 2. Will Qatar reduce cooperation with Washington and push back harder against Israel diplomatically? 3. How will Saudi Arabia and UAE, already cautious with the U.S., react to this breach of Gulf sovereignty? Analysts say America's role as protector of the Gulf has been badly damaged, and restoring that trust will take more than just meetings. Possible scenarios. Ahead. Going forward, we see three possible paths. De-escalation. U.S. pressures. Israel to avoid further Gulf strikes, and Qatar accepts stronger guarantees. Escalation. Israel repeats such actions. Qatar and Gulf states retaliate diplomatically, and U.S.-E Gulf ties break further. O strategic shift. Gulf countries speed up partnerships with non-Western powers, reducing U.S. influence in the Middle East. Each path has serious consequences for the future balance of power in the region. To conclude, the Israel strike in Doha was not just a military action. It was a geopolitical earthquake. It exposed cracks in U.S. Gulf relations, tested Qatar's role as a mediator, and reminded the world how fragile Middle East peace really is. The Trump-Qatar Amir meeting is only the first step in damage control. But whether the trust can ever be fully rebuilt, that is the big question. Stay tuned to Next Gen Investors for more deep analysis of global politics and how it impacts the world economy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.